Thank you, sir. You know, it was last fall I had the opportunity to take one of those spontaneous vacations. And so I hopped on a plane and headed back east with my wife. I don't know about you, but I often take pictures outside the aircraft. I don't know why I chose that photo. Anyway, thank you, I'll be here till Thursday. As I flew back east, we got up to cruising altitude. The flight crew does what they normally do. They come out, they start working the cabin, and flight attendant got to our row, and she said to the gentleman on the aisle, "Sir, tonight, our flight includes an in-flight meal. Would you care for dinner?" And he goes, "Well, yeah, that sounds kind of nice." She said, "What are my choices?" And without skipping a beat, she looked right back at him and she says, "Well, yes, sir, yes or no?" You love a flight crew with a sense of humor. Well, I think she had a sense of humor. You never know. You know, if I were to ask that question here in the room tonight, what's for dinner? We would have a myriad of responses, everything from, well, we're out tonight, let's just go grab something, fast food, fine dining, and everything in between. For some of us, it'd be like, you know what, let's just grab something on the way home, we'll whip something up, there's something in the fridge, something in the freezer, we'll make it work. Choices would be endless. But for a large portion of our population here in Southeast Idaho, and specifically here in Bonneville County, and I would dare to venture that even tonight in this very room, there's a percentage of our population, when you ask the question, what's for dinner? They don't answer with, I don't know, where do you want to go? They answer with yes or no. Yes, when we go home, we'll have enough food in the fridge. Or no, we won't. Yes, we'll have enough food for today, but tomorrow, and when the kids go back to school on Monday, we don't really know. I know what you're thinking. Welcome to the party, Danny Downer. Right? But it's a very real problem we have in our community right now. See, we have a perception problem in our culture of who is impacted by poverty, who is impacted by hunger, and who's impacted by not being able to live the life that we really want to live. There was a study done recently by the United Ways of the Pacific Northwest, and it was a study determined to look at what this group of people is that's really suffering, that's really struggling. This report is called the ALICE report. You may have heard of this. ALICE stands for Asset Limited, Income Constrained, Employed. And what the ALICE report did for those of us in the volunteer sector that serve in either food pantries or shelters or other social services, it identified what we already knew, what we used to call the working poor. And what it did is identify that there's a percentage of people in the state of Idaho, 37% of our population, who fall into either poverty or ALICE category. And what that means is, for the example, in the state of Idaho, 17% of our population is right at or below the poverty level. 22%, the remainder, the 20 some odd percent, I can't do math at this hour of the evening, that are struggling. They're good, hardworking folks, but no matter how hard they try, they just can't seem to make things work. I don't know about you, but on a global scale, I look at big numbers and I kind of glaze over. So let's take a look at Bonneville County. Bonneville County has a 34% rate of folks that are struggling to get by and folks that are in poverty. And you're thinking, there's no way, how is that even possible? Where are these folks at? I thought people that struggled with hunger and poverty and all this kind of stuff, I thought they were just a different group of people. And you really want to get my ire up, call them those people. But aren't those people homeless? Aren't they the ones who are on welfare and getting kind of assistance and programs? Aren't those people the ones who are out there just too lazy to do anything? Maybe those people are the ones who just have their hands out and all they want to do is have people give them free stuff. I can tell you from experience, we've been in this industry for quite some time, it's less than 3% of the total population. The majority of folks who are out there are really struggling are good, hardworking Idahoans. In Bonneville County, it's 12,500 plus households just in Bonneville County are identified in the ALICE or poverty category. Here's who they are, because you're asking yourself that question right now. Well, who are these folks? They're in your family. They're your neighbors. They're your coworkers. They're people you go to school with. They're people you're engaged in activities and sports all throughout the area. And they're people that you go to church with on Sunday. That's a stark reality, I know. But I'm here to ask you tonight to help us fix this problem, because I believe that if we can identify who the face of poverty is, then I believe we can make a difference in our community. I have the privilege of being on staff at First Baptist Church in Pocatello, and he's not kidding, this clicker is touchy. And I get to work with an incredible staff. They treat me great. We get to do amazing things in the community. And one of the things that we offer is the food pantry at First Baptist Church. It's open to anyone in the community who needs emergency food assistance. If they're hungry, that's our only question. Are you hungry? Then come in, we'll feed you. And I was actually at the pantry this one Thursday. It's open on Thursdays, and a young lady came in with her kids. She said, it's our first time here. Now, when we're at what we call the check-in desk here, we don't ask people to tell us their story. We really don't need to know. We're there to serve them. We're there to love on them. We're there to get them some food and get them on their way. But people tend to verbally vomit their story about where they're at because they're nervous. They're anxious. This is a very difficult thing for people to do, to step in and ask for help. So she sat down and she shared her story. She said, my husband and I were both working. We had 2 good jobs. And then something happened within a short period of time. We both lost our jobs, and now we're out of work. And we've been trying to get jobs. We've been interviewing, but we just can't seem to get hired. And here's what she said next. She said, we don't want to be on unemployment. We don't want to be a drain on society. We want to have a decent life. So she continued to say that they had been working hard to try to get jobs, and it was 3 or 4 weeks into this adventure, and she said, we're down to our last few bucks. The money stopped coming in, but the bills sure keep coming. So we had a choice to make. The money we have left, we're going to take that money and we're going to put it toward food and just hope and pray that one of these jobs we've already applied for will come through. Or do we take that money and we put it over here in the gas tank and go and interview for more jobs and just hope and pray that the food comes through? Being a man of faith, I was kind of excited to hear the word prayer. So, hey, can I continue to pray for you while we get you some food? And of course we did. Our team does an amazing job. They treat people with such dignity and respect. I'm honored to be a part of that. They got her set up, they got her connected, got her some other resources. I don't know how many times they came, 2 or 3 maybe, but I remember the last time they came like it was yesterday. Dad came with them. Dad kind of walked in, he just kind of had that look on his face like, things are good. And he just looked at me and he goes, you know what? We both got work. We're getting back on our feet again. We just need a little help to get through this month. But once we're there, if it wasn't for you guys and the resources you pointed us to, we couldn't have made it. So we just wanted to say thank you. The next time you do see us, we'll be here to volunteer. And they came back a couple of times and helped volunteer in the team. It was amazing. That's why we do what we do. That's why I love being a part of this team. You see, we have folks in our community, familiar faces that they just go through life and we have no idea what's going on. The folks that are in this category, the folks that are struggling, these folks that are working hard just can't seem to make ends meet. They don't wear it on their sleeves. They don't wear it like a name tag that says, hey, look at me, I need help. I'm about ready to fall off. But a lot of these families are one decision, one medical bill, one crisis, one job loss away from falling into poverty. Nelson Mandela said it best when he said that poverty, like slavery and apartheid, is a man-made problem, but it can be fixed with humankind. He went on to say that you can restore dignity this way. Overcoming poverty is not a gesture of charity. It is an act of justice. It's the protection of a fundamental human right, the right to dignity and a decent life. Yeah. I was talking with Rebecca Ristrom. She is the branch manager at the Idaho Food Bank in Pocatello. They do an amazing job in Southeast Idaho for agencies and for folks that are in this position. And she says, you know, I had a gentleman come in not too long ago, and he pulled up in a nice truck much like this and nicer than mine. And he just, unassuming fella, got out of his truck and walked in, but he wouldn't look at anybody. He just kind of hung his head down and I need to see about getting a food box. And they said, I'm sorry, what was that? He said, I took a deep breath. I need to inquire about getting a food box. And then he began the verbal vomit. Life was good, had a good job. And when things are going well, what do? We take care of ourselves. We treat ourselves once in a while, don't we? We get a new vehicle, we get a new outfit, we go on a trip. We do something to make ourselves feel special. So he did, but he had a good job. He had a family, they were doing well. Gets a phone call, Dad, we just lost our job. Wife and I both, and now we're at risk of losing our house. Can we move in with you? Just to get back on our feet. Got a good job, not a problem, move in. With the addition of the family and the family members he was already helping, the house mouth count is now at 12. Not a big deal, he's got a good job. And then the bottom falls out. and a layoff happens, it's not his fault. It's just business. We've heard that. Yeah, it's just business, but he still has the car truck payment. He still has the mouths to feed. He still has the bills that are going in. See, this is the unknown face of Idahoans who are struggling. They just want to make a difference. They just want a decent life. But sometimes things beyond their control get in the way. But I believe that if we can get our head around who the real face of poverty is tonight, we can help make a difference. Fast forward in that same story, about November of that year, an elderly woman walked into the food bank and said, "Rebecca, can I talk to you for a minute?" She said, "Sure." She says, "My son was in a really bad spot a while ago, and he came in here, and it wasn't easy for him. He had to swallow his pride. He was embarrassed. He felt like he was letting his family down. But he came in, and you and your team treated him with dignity and respect. Gave him a little bit of confidence back." She goes, "We're not 100%. We're not where we need to be just yet, but we're better. And we know it's Thanksgiving, and we know that people right now in our community, it's a hard time. And we just don't want people to be without a turkey." So she reached into her purse. She grabbed a $100 bill. "I want you to go buy turkeys." What she didn't know was they were about 15 turkeys short, and that covered the bill. You see, sometimes we tend to think that this is the solution to the problem. This does help in an emergency situation. It allows us, agencies, the food banks, all the places that like soup kitchens and whatnot, it allows them to go and get supplies to help people in an emergency situation, but it's really just a Band-Aid. Food donations and clothing donations, they really are just Band-Aids to a bigger problem. I believe that this room is full of the solution. I know that because I'm watching it play out in my life as the people I get to deal with. See, if you would just offer one simple thing, your time and expertise, you can make a difference in somebody's life. You can affect 12,500 households here in Bonneville County. You might be somebody who is just wicked good at writing resumes. You know how to fill out a resume that's got that winning job. You know what? A lot of folks really just want to get a better job, but they don't know how to write a resume that gets them there. It doesn't cost money, it just costs you time to share your skills and your abilities. For some of you, you could help people learn some interview skills that are just land the job in a moment. Offer yourself as a coach. Make yourself available to help someone get a better job so they can learn a new skill so they can get a life of dignity. Maybe you're someone who just likes to just help people cook, and you like to shop. You know, get involved with the Cooking Matters class with Idaho Food Bank, or with cooking things here in town that are offered to folks that are low income or people that are struggling. Give them your shopping skills. Help them learn how to build a grocery list and to use it. Learn how to cook. Many of you in this room, if I asked you to raise your hands, you could do a budget in your sleep. You say the word budget to folks who are struggling, it terrifies them. Show them how to make a grocery budget. Start there. Help them build a household budget so they can get back into a place where they can start looking up in the morning and say, "I'm going to have a decent day. I'm going to have a decent life." So I believe if we understand fully who the real face of poverty is, if we can get our heads around that, then I believe that when the question is asked, "What's for dinner?" no longer will it be yes or no, but they're going to ask you, "I don't know, where do you want to go?"